With a vast array of cultures on Staten Island, understanding and communication seems to be a lost art form between neighbors. Well, Staten Island Out Loud is an organization that is working on bridging the gap between cultures and neighbors through dialogue and reading. Here at historic Richmond Town, I had the chance to sit in on an Out Loud event and meet with Beth Gorey. Why did you start Staten Island Out Loud?
Well, I started it for several reasons, really, that all sort of ran together. The immediate reason was that I was recognizing more and more there were these great people in my neighborhood that I didn't know. I didn't know they were there. And a lot of other people had the same response. They said, "Gee, I didn't know so-and-so lived in the neighborhood." So I thought it'd be interesting to find a way to bring people together that's not pressured, that's not in a bar, that people could bring their families to, that doesn't cost money. All those thoughts were swirling around my head, and we just started to say, well, wouldn't it be fun if people came? It would be an open mic, but not really an open mic. They wouldn't be reading their own poem, they'd be reading classic works, and they'd be sharing ideas. And basically, the thought grew out of those conversations. The community has been extremely responsive and very supportive, and it's continued. It's built. Some of our programs are very intimate, and they might draw only a half dozen people, but to some of our events, we draw several hundred. So it's been really very, just a wonderful community embrace.
I understand that you also did a civil rights event.
This came out of conversations with neighbors over the summer as we were preparing the thing to use the metaphor of the Civil War for the divisions that may be seen to exist in society today, red states and blue states, racial divisions, ethnic divisions, what have you. And we used the literature of the Civil War in this fantastic Civil War era setting to explore where we were as a society today, and taking it on a macro level, how the nation was responding and how our community was responding.
Well, I think Staten Island Out Loud is a wonderful way of bringing people together. It's a wonderful venue for community dialogue. It brings people of different cultures, races, religions, ethnicities, whatever, together in a non-threatening and non-judgmental type atmosphere where they feel free to share.
I think it brings people together and basically get to share an experience. Sometimes it's poetry.
My poetry doesn't my poetry has an identity. This is an identity. It's a little bit of clarity.
Sometimes it's historical. But it gives people a chance to get together and, find some common ground to talk about certain things that they might find of interest.
So if you were to come to an event, you would expect to read something, to share, to be surprised, to meet other people, to be interested in the way they were responding to text. A couple of years ago, I went to an event in a church in February, I believe it was February, having to do with, it was Black History Month. And there were chunks of Douglass and Martin Luther King, and some singing and some dramatization that was part of the event. And so it was all mingled in there. I think there was very little poetry in that one, as a matter of fact.
So when it comes to Staten Island Out Loud, you never know what you're going to
You never know.
No two events are the same.
No two events are the same.
We do events in community settings throughout the islands, North Shore, Mid-Island, and South Shore. We do things in historic settings, like Historic Richmond Town here today, the Conference House, in libraries, in faith communities, in churches, synagogues, temples, mosques, in parks. We do readings in delis. We've been all over the place, so we try to stay mobile.
Okay, well, here's the main question. What's the cost of coming to an event?
The cost of coming to a Staten Island Out Loud event is zero. All our events are free and open to the public. All our events are family friendly. Some people say, well, gee, Moby Dick, that's really not a children's book. Well, no, but isn't it wonderful to expose your kids to Melville at the age of 5? Because guess what? Turn on the television and look at what they're getting exposed to. So why not expose them to great literature and have them make it their own?
Oh, I loved it. I think it's a great way for people to express their emotions, and it shows what creativity people have, so it's a good idea.
It is such an enriching experience to understand these really important people like Dr. King and Coretta Scott King, and the ideas that they brought into the world that really need to be understood by young people in order to build on them, and also to keep them alive when we get older.
The simplicity of it is wonderful. It's just, regular people, your neighbors, people next door, people you work with, getting up and reading from a piece of history. And when we put all those pieces together, it comes across as one incredible, glorious program. This is the dream. This is what it's all about.
The more time we spend together, the more we get to know each other, the less fear there is. And even if you just keep your ears open as you travel throughout the island and listen to people, there is a real need for this kind of venue, because it's so easy to get confined to our little communities where we feel safe because everybody's like us, and but the world isn't like that. Staten Island isn't like that. There are people from all over the world here, and we need to learn to appreciate each other as human beings, and we only learn to do that by spending time together.
In the words of Beth Gorey, Out Loud's goal is to strengthen cross-cultural understanding by gathering neighbors to explore classics and share ideas. They're not a theater company, and they're not trying to be. And they're not actors. They're neighbors reading to neighbors. This is Jenelle, and I'm on the beat.